So the umbrella, it's not really raining, it just means I got a drink to drop off. Way I can, it's like a memory, I call it a memory device. You know, when you leave something somewhere so you remember. And looks like this one's probably going to go, I'm assuming probably downtown. There's downtown right there. Yeah, Fugazi was a pretty good band. I mean, I wasn't like against punk or anything. I thought punk was a pretty cool scene. I just, you know, there was a difference between American punk and European punk, and it's kind of a different kind of thing. A movie like Suburbia kind of shows it. I think that does show punk. I really do think that movie shows kind of what punk was. Now the bands are a little glam punk, you could call them. They weren't like really, you know, a lot of punks made fun of some of those bands, but I guess the Vandals were one of them. I guess they were kind of, I guess it would be, it'd fall into punk. And the behavior was kind of punk, you know, the movie Suburbia. I'm talking about 1983. I'm not talking about Richard Linklater. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that film at all. I'm talking about the 1983 Suburbia, the original one. Because punk had a certain kind of behavior. It had a smell, you know, punk. You could really tell like who was punk and who was not punk. Just like you could tell what a new waver was or a goth. You know, those types of people were of that time in the 1990s is what I'm talking about. Now, we talked about Suburbia in the 90s, but Suburbia was a 1983 film, so it's like coming out of the early 80s. You could even maybe argue that was even a punk scene there, but not as evident as in the 1990s, where punk was, you know, far more popular, I would say, than in the 1980s. It was still kind of a movement that was growing. Of course, it came out in the 70s, and some would even argue maybe even late 60s, but then it was probably developed in the 1970s is when punk really established itself, depending on if you were a Blondie fan and things like that. Which, I don't know if Blondie was exactly punk, but she identified people of the punk culture, identified with CBGB and bands that, like the Ramones and things like that. It was more of kind of a punk, American punk, I guess you could say. And then, of course, goth came about more with Sisters of Mercy was a goth band. Joy Division was definitely goth, I would say. I consider them goth. I don't know, post-punk or goth, maybe. You know, you could probably have a long argument about The Cure. You know, is The Cure goth? Even the Smashing Pumpkins, you could probably argue. You know, a lot of people that listen to Smashing Pumpkins dress like completely preppy and normal, you know. But there were some goth people, and Billy had his goth moment, you know. Although, were they really a goth band? You know, I don't know. But Sisters of Mercy definitely were, and same thing with Joy Division. I would consider them goth. The Cure's argumentable. You know, it's argument is even alternative rock. You know, the genres are. Now I've read on one genre is called art punk, which is like Talking Heads, where it's like or art rock, I think is what they say. Not necessarily punk, but art rock. Like Psycho Killer is, you know, very distant punk kind of, but not really. You know, it's alternative, or what they call rock art music. There's a whole scene of music that comes out of the film, radio, and television department, which would be REM, of course, and Talking Heads too. Would be more like the art school punk or art school rock. Art school music, I guess you might argue that. Yeah, there's an older building right over there. One thing I've noticed about studying punk rock is it seems like the more modern version of punk rock, they have a thing called a cheerleader. And I don't really ever I'm not remembering a cheerleader when I was, you know, listening to like Exploited and, you know, Social Distortion and things like that. It was just like, you know, usually just one singer, you know, but the cheerleader kind of aspect, I guess Nirvana addressed that in a way. They didn't have a cheerleader, but they had cheerleaders, male cheerleaders on stage dancing around. and they're definitely grunge. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to pass Nirvana off as a punk band. I'm not trying to do that at all. I think Kurt Cobain would even agree with me, even though he's dead, but he'd probably agree with me. You know, it's like, no, we weren't punk, but he liked bands like the Raincoats and the Vaselines and Meat Puppets and stuff like that, which, you know, I guess I could say they were kind of like post-punk maybe, or alternative punk or something weird like that. You know, I wouldn't really... Punk is it's a very weird kind of, like, you don't just classify any band out there and just call them punk. You could get in a lot of trouble, and possibly even a fight, maybe, depending on who is near you, you know, if there's another punk or whatever. But, you know, my days of punk it was very kind of emotional, lots of, you know, really a lot of slam dancing and mosh pits kind of thing. Yeah, I couldn't find the guy because he was walking the sidewalk to drop off his food. And he's so sorry about that. I was like, don't worry about it. Here you go. You know that new wave band that goes dun 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 dun. You know that one. Dun 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 dun. Ba 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 ba. I can't think of who they are. I was an alternative new wave mix, and that's the one that got into dun 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 dun. You know that one? I can't think of the band though, for some reason. I can't think of their name. But it doesn't really show. It doesn't really, because it's like an alternative mix. So it doesn't show like each band that's playing. You'd have to like Shazam or something, one of the bands, to find out. It's just like a YouTube post that goes on for like hours. It just plays different alternative music. Everything from like The Cure to Joy Division, things like that. New Order, things like that. There's one that goes dun 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 dun. You ever heard of those? Yeah, I just come from the land of the sun. Yeah, New Order. It's New Order. Yeah, I figured it out. It's a New Order song. I don't know which one it is, but that's how it goes. Probably figured it out if you're listening. Dun 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 dun. Because I just come from the land of sun. It's also the one that goes, I want to see my family. It's that one. That's a New Order song. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool song. It's kind of cool to hear them again, you know. Every once in a while, you know, they're kind of, you know, it just depends on how you feel, you know. Earlier, I was listening to Fugazi's Turn something. I don't know. Turn the something. I don't know. But it's kind of got a weird intro. It's right after the song Waiting Room, which is a real popular one. Alright, looks like it's probably going to be until late summer before I make that Mac Pro purchase, which is, I don't know, about 2 G's or so. Maybe more or less, anywhere between $1,700 to two grand. And that's going to be a step up for the business to increase revenue and subscribers and things like that. Also, it's cool about the new updated iMovie on MacBook or iMac, if you get one of the others. They have rolling credits on there, as well as it being a more detailed editor. So if you make a little short film or a feature or something like that, you can put rolling credits on there without any problems. The other one is a little more difficult. You can still do credits, it just has to be intermediate credits, you know, where it shows kind of like at the beginning of a movie. But not everyone does rolling credits, but they mostly do. It's called a roll. And it'll probably be like late summer. I looked at the budgeting and everything. It's going to be some time, because I want to comfortably be able to make the purchase. And 2 G's is a lot, you know, for a computer. And I'm hoping that it'll last me a good decade. You know, probably a good a good decade or so, which is different than the Microsoft. So we're going full Apple Macintosh. And we're going to go and see Linda and Kitty. So I got a couple of cookies at 7-Eleven, and it's 99 cents as long as you get the regular cookies, which one has like caramel or something in it. The other one looks like a peanut butter cookie. But I accidentally got the gingerbread cookie, and it rang up as like $2.60 or $2.80 or something like that. And I was like, oh. And he's like, oh, gingerbread one doesn't count as a regular cookie. So I was like, okay, can I trade out? So I gave him, I had to reach in and get the gingerbread cookie out, and then he had to throw it away. So he's like, threw away the cookie in front of me, and then I bought the other two for 99 cents. It's kind of weird. It's like totally just threw the gingerbread cookie away. Maybe he ate it, I don't know. Oh, crap, I just remember something. Yeah, it's kind of weird because, well, let me show you. I'm going to show you everything I got. So there's the two cookies. You can't really kind of see it. And there's Coca-Cola, and I got Red Bull for tomorrow morning because I don't drink coffee. And got some sweetener and things like that. And here's, I'll show you the cookies. Okay. All right. So I'll show you the cookies right here. So these actually count for the 99-cent deal. You got to put your number in. I don't know, it's got like caramel or something in it. And then here's the other cookie, which is basically like, it's like a peanut, I think yeah, peanut butter. It's a peanut butter cookie. Those count. But this was a gingerbread cookie, and I put it in there, and he's like, oh no, it's $2.64. I thought he said it was 99 cents because he was selling the cookies. And he said, yeah, the gingerbread one doesn't count, so he's gonna like charge like $2.80, which is different than 99 cents. So I was like, okay, well, just take it out. I took out the gingerbread cookie and just like threw it away in front of me. So good. Insight Live. It's a pretty good little song. There he is. Little kitty. Smash my kiki kapoo. Smash my kiki kapoo. Smash my kiki kapoo.